Quickly, what's your favorite shoe brand? Preferred cosmetic company? Favorite Taylor Swift album? Do you believe that U.S. military intervention helps support democracy abroad? Now, wait a minute. One of these things is not like the other. Well, or is it? Hey guys, what's up? It's imergency and welcome back to my channel. And yes, let's address the elephant in the room really quickly. I do have little twisties. This is a new development. I'm still trying to figure out what exactly to do with them. So if you do have recommendations for what I should do with these little twists, style them a little bit more, let me know in the comments below. So for right now, they're dude down. But getting back to what we were just talking about, the reason why I ask all these questions is because it's important to understand what it is that makes us have the opinions that we do on these things. While we like to believe that it's our own autonomy and free will, I'm sorry to tell you that a lot of whatever you may have answered to those questions has been shaped, molded, and dare I say, even manipulated by propaganda that's all around us. And I know that sounds spooky and really doomeristic, but hear me out, because in this video, we're going to be going over propaganda and its relation to modern day advertisements, as well as getting into the conversation around Taylor Swift's new album, Life of a Showgirl, and how it can be seen that much of it, that being the album itself and its marketing, actually also is propaganda. So first and foremost, we got to talk about what exactly is propaganda. Now, I feel like we've all heard this term used, usually in a political sense, and that's honestly the most common use for sure. When you traditionally hear that something's propaganda, you think of things that are trying to get you to think a certain way about something political, something trying to sway your opinion one way or another, and usually in a very insidious way. And if you've been paying attention to current events in America, you can definitely see that the word propaganda has been thrown around a lot, and there has been a lot of it in that sense. But the actual textbook definition of propaganda is the dissemination of information, facts, arguments, rumors, half-truths, or lies to influence public opinion, and it is often conveyed through mass media. And if you apply this definition broadly, it actually is a core tenet of branding, marketing, and public relations. I think as a public, we've definitely separated the two and see propaganda as a more nefarious and sinister thing, which in some cases it definitely can be, but it can also be applied to things we don't see as sinister as, say, fascism. It also applies to the ads that we see in our day-to-day, whether it be for that creepy AI friend device, which I do have to plug, I did make a whole video about on my second channel, Emergency 2, if you do want to go check that out, definitely go do that. Or for things like cereal or your favorite shoes. Marketing, branding, advertising, whatever you want to call it, at its core, has the same mission that propaganda does: to disseminate information, whether it's the full truth, half-truth, or not, to sway public opinion and perception. Believe it or not, I am a comms major, guys, so we are going to get a little comms and PR here. So if we're talking about things like propaganda and PR, the conversation has to start with a man named Edward Bernays. Now, Edward Bernays is considered the father of public relations, or PR, and also propaganda, because he wrote a whole book on it. And this story is actually going to take us all the way back to World War I. I know, spooky times. But during World War I, we really kicked in the propaganda machine because America needed to boost morale to support war efforts. So they created the Committee on Public Information. And when they did this, they brought on Edward Bernays to join them to maximize their joint propaganda sleigh, to create messaging that might sound a little familiar today. Does US military intervention will spread democracy abroad ring any bells to anyone? Anyways, after this experience, he opened his own PR office, and he himself said that because propaganda got such a bad rep after the war, he had to think of other words to essentially do the same thing, and those words became public relations. The rebranding of propaganda, if you will. Also, a little fun fact for the history and psychology nerds, Bernays is actually Sigmund Freud's nephew. You know, the Sigmund Freud that's like the father of psychology, and for some reason that just makes sense in a way that I don't know that I like. Given this background, he was the first to apply sociology and psychology to commercial and corporate business. His whole tactic was to take an insight that's already governing people's behavior and connect it to the product that you're selling, effectively using people's desires and behaviors to get them to want the specific product that you want them to. And actually, if you want to do a little nepotism funner fact, his great nephew, I know, followed the family tree, was actually the former CEO of Netflix. So really, this also kind of makes sense. Now, I gotta think that this is propaganda podcast for this one, but one of Bernays' most widely known public relations feats was bringing in women as a demographic for cigarettes, more specifically for the brand Lucky Strike. During that time, it was seen as taboo for women to smoke. But for Lucky Strike, that was a whole market that they were missing out on. So of course, at the time, taking the insight that feminism was on the rise and hey, women actually want rights, they said, let's use that. He then staged a march called Torches of Free that essentially captured the desires of women to be equal to men, but tied it to the cigarette. The whole march was women smoking outside, and he even had his assistant go out and give interviews where she would not name a company but would pose as a feminist activist, saying that women deserve the right to smoke and take a break, that women can do what men do, and in this case, that it being smoking. Additionally, in other marketing, they targeted women's desire for thinness, using cigarettes' hunger-curbing side effects, and insisting that women reach for a cigarette instead of dessert. I know, that sounds crazy now, but at the time, they must have been eaten because those ads worked. And it's honestly crazy, like if you look at women's magazines from the 70s, almost all the cigarette ads mention weight loss or slimness, which is clearly the play with these magazines targeting women. And that association clearly runs deep, especially when you consider that this all started around the early 30s. Ideas are as effective as any weapon and could be more dangerous than bullets. But now that we got a little propaganda history lesson, and we've seen how propaganda has been used for not so great reasons, it's time to ask the question, can propaganda actually be good? Or at least positive? I mean, on an interpersonal level, I don't think so, because its purpose is to push a certain agenda, regardless of true authenticity or beliefs. And it's tricky to think in these terms because the basis of propaganda is influencing people to believe, behave, and consume in a certain way for capitalism. But it also is almost impossible to exist outside of that system. Even if we did think of propaganda as like a neutral thing in the hands of the American people can quickly turn into an evil thing because, of course, how we choose to use it. Overwhelmingly, how we use propaganda can be downright evil to secretly insidious, like endlessly promoting the same product that was likely made with labor on TikTok Shop. And while the vast majority of propaganda is sinister, let us remember that not all propaganda is created equal. Like, yeah, swaying people through subliminal messaging or tactics of deceit is never great, but hey, if I have to choose between endless shadow work TikTok Shop ads and being subconsciously swayed to smoke cigarettes, one is definitely worse than the other, but neither are truly great. And it's really important to have discernment over which propaganda is genuinely harmful or maybe just a nuisance. And I really think about how often we as Gen Z are actively advertised to. Like, you really can't escape any form of advertisement. You open any app and within a few swipes, you're already seeing an advertisement for a product that's either paid for by the brand, from the brand, or being promoted by an influencer. And honestly, that's being lenient because if we're also talking about just general product placement, it doesn't just stop at influencers. It also extends to your own social network, like your friends that post the products that they're using. Just ads, whether they're paid for or not. Then you step outside and see advertisements everywhere on billboards, buses, cars, buildings, bus stops, subways, like everything you think of, like there's constant advertisement and propaganda being thrown your way, which for one is already overwhelming for a generation that has decision fatigue. And two, almost the more sinister thing is that the irony of it all is that like you don't really have a choice to begin with. It's all the illusion of choice. Now you may be asking, Rumi, what do you mean by this? Let me point you over to a famous case study between Dove and Axe. If you were born before, let's say the year 2004, do you remember this ad? It came out around 2006 and was considered revolutionary at the time for the way that it exposed the industry. And to be fair, at the time, it kind of was. It garnered public favor on their side for their Dove Real Beauty campaign. And if you go see it, Dove's ads did seemingly celebrate diversity, but in that very same year, Axe aired this ad. And it wasn't just that one, they have many other egregious offenses, where women seem to be a prop for men's likability and desirability, but only if they use Axe, of course. They may be asking, Rumi, what does a Dove ad and an Axe ad have to do with each other? Well, again, let's go back to the family tree. Both of these companies are owned by Unilever. Right. So ultimately, whether you believe that all women should be celebrated as they are, or you think that they're objects that should run around in bikinis in the woods, either way, you lose and they win. They don't care about beliefs. They care about profits. And this is just one of the examples of advertisements and brands playing both sides, talking out of both sides of their mouths to get the most amount of profit. And this is why I say that you don't really have a choice either way. Propaganda has long been a mirror for culture, using people's beliefs and values to sway them. And you can see that in those two ads and who their target demos seem to be. In the early 2000s, the low rise was in fashion, thin was in, and it was honestly undeniable. Dove released that ad at a very particular and almost strategic time, where women were probably tired of seeing these unrealistic beauty standards plastered all around them. And Dove seemingly allowed audiences to get a peek behind the curtain to the authentic experience of how inauthentic the industry actually was, thus swinging into the public's good graces. They mirrored the values and desires of their intended audience, that they too fit the descriptions of beauty, not just the models that we see on billboards, because those models are not real. While simultaneously, under a sister company, I guess, simultaneously the messaging behind the Axe commercials taps into their audience's desires and beliefs, showing that this product can turn you into a ladies' man, hungered for by all these beautiful, skinny women in bathing suits, which again is kind of in contrast to what they were saying over at Dove. But it's also important to see that these both exist under the same parent company, selling similar products, meaning that the money's all basically going to the same place. And when capital is king, there are no values or morals, just assimilating to what your audience wants to be chosen over the hundreds of other products that are just like yours. There's a sort of identity politics to marketing. Companies change their campaigns and so-called beliefs based solely on their audience behaviors and desires, instead of actually adopting and establishing their own. And this kind of brings me to my next point that branches into the larger conversation that was happening online around the overconsumption with Influencergate, if y'all were on TikTok for that, and talking specifically about how propaganda has changed in the era of social media. Now, it used to be that propaganda reflected our culture and beliefs at the time, but with the rise of social media, it seems that propaganda has begun to actually inform our culture and beliefs. That's why all the nicheification and line blurring of genre and subculture seems to be so shallow these days. Buy a velvet skirt and a bell sleeve top and all of a sudden your limb's a goth. Get a plaid skirt or light wash baggy jean with an oversized collegiate jacket and all of a sudden you're preppy. Culture isn't created from the arts, the community, history, or genuinely people anymore. It's created as a commodity that you can buy off of the TikTok shop. It doesn't really feel like we dictate culture anymore. It feels like we're just trying to acquire it and then move on. Just think of all the times on TikTok every time it's a new season, and you have endless videos of people saying oh, hey guys, what are we wearing to work this fall? What are we wearing this summer? What colors are we wearing? And I can go on to how that speaks to the whole monoculture of it all that we're living right now, but that's a whole separate video. I think I actually did make a whole video on that. You should go check that out. But how does this all apply to now? Well, there's been some internet discourse for a while now about how people are tired of seeing ads all the time.
I am not staying and watching your video if I see the TikTok shop icon in the bottom left corner.
Overconsumption has been plaguing our generation a lot, especially since the rise in fast fashion.
And constantly being sold something every time they open social media. Like I said before, everything you see, especially on social media, it feels like almost always are ads, whether you know it or not. My researcher wanted to add a little note here, saying that while she was researching, she was actually duped into watching an ad because she thought that it was a legitimate fight between a student and a teacher, but it was actually just an ad for AI homework assistant. Very insidious, very nasty work. And if you actually look at the comments on the video, not many people are actually clocking that it is an ad, which is scary because it's then served its purpose of getting people to check out whatever AI homework assistant the girl's ranting about. And I say all this to say that no one is immune from propaganda, even if it's on our screens 24/7, whether we know it or not. Back in the day, YouTubers used to be hashtag not an ad or hashtag ad to distinguish if what they were saying was paid for or sponsored or not. But it's clear no one really cares about the FTC no more because no one's really disclosing ads like they used to. And it's becoming even harder to hold influencers accountable for not disclosing, especially when the content is not shaped like a traditional ad. And when I think we talk about things like influencers and propaganda, people often say that when it comes to influencers, the person themselves has actually become a walking billboard, with their lifestyle becoming the commodity, and the products that they advertise allegedly bringing us one step closer to the life they live. But in reality, no matter how many affiliate links or TikTok shop items we buy, you can't really be like that influencer because influencers are cashing in for the products that y'all are selling out. Advertising is a billion-dollar industry. Embedding and creating insecurities in people, and specifically in women, is easy when there is just that much money and a lifetime of patriarchal standards put behind it. And companies win when you feel insecure. which unfortunately isn't super different from seeing the idealistic lifestyle of your favorite lifestyle influencer and thinking you can emulate that life by buying the same product, despite the actual differences between you and them being their work, their genetics, their time and effort, and the money that's been put into it. So you really just can't buy a new workout set and then magically turn into like, I don't know, who's like a popular lifestyle girly? Yeah. This creator on TikTok speaks a little bit about it, and I don't agree with all of their points.
I mean, a TikTok talking about influencers make too much money, and a lot of the girlies are like, you're just mad because you want to be an influencer. You're just mad. Bitch, you could not influence a thirsty person to drink water.
But at its core, to be an influencer is to be an agent of overconsumption, which I had to say as I am one of those too. There's so much money and forces at play behind making individuals consume. But also we as individuals have to take stock and personal inventory. Like how often are we pressing that TikTok shop link and clicking buy? As this one creator puts it, consumerism is the perfection of slavery. Most media on the internet these days is trying to sell you something. And it's not just products. Beliefs, attitudes to our political topics, and lifestyles also seem to be hot commodities. Because everything is a virtue signal in this capitalist society. Where we put our time and dollar ultimately says something about us for choosing one product over another. It's like buying a hydro flask versus a Stanley Cup versus a off-brand name. Each choice seems to add an identity marker with the consumer. It seems like in late stage capitalism, the main way we get to express ourselves is through external consumption. What artists do you support? What car do you drive? What brands do you like and shop from the most? And which ones do you not? And which ones do you boycott? I think it's now more common than ever that identities and personalities are based in consumerism, which unfortunately is a major win for corporations, but is a massive L for us. Also, a little cliff note, because I don't feel like talking about the rest of this. Fuck TikTok shop.
I'm not going to be hypocritical. It's gotten me because I'm constantly being advertised things, and a lot of these things are tailored to my interests and things I want. I really like makeup. Suddenly it's advertising all of these eyeshadow palettes, all of these different makeup products, when in reality, I don't need that many. Like, it's just so unnecessary. Use this, get this lipstick, get this blush, get this lip liner, when in reality, you can use an eyeshadow palette for blush, for lip liner, for lipstick, for contour. So many things. You don't need to be consuming this. And I think now that it was everywhere, people are getting rewarded and getting paid for promoting random just junk. It's just junk.
Now, while in late stage capitalism, it is hard to get out of the rat race of it all, my best advice for you if you are trying to seek other options is to shop small, shop local, and shop mindfully, which I know all come with their own amounts of privilege and isn't possible every time for everyone. But if you have the choice to do it, our buying power is significantly stronger than you may think. So yes, maybe partake in the de-influencing content creators and slow down your shopping because you don't need to buy everything. But now let's take a big transition into one of the major discourses around this conversation, specifically around propaganda and consumption, and that is Taylor Swift. And I mean, like, what discourse hasn't been said about this album already? But I promise she really ties into this. Regardless of what you feel about her music, one thing that is undeniable about Taylor Swift is that she is a businesswoman first. And while I know the stands will come for me for this, I do want to say it is not just her that does this, but overconsumption is definitely encouraged under Miss Swiftie.
I see tactics like this, where each vinyl variant is specifically marketed as having a different song on it that isn't on the previous variant, that you know will take months and months and months to make it onto streaming, and that there will likely never be a vinyl that contains all the different songs from all the different variants in one place that is particularly manipulative. And I would be willing to bet money that this will not be the last final variant of TTPD that's released that will have something exclusive to that variant that makes fans specifically want to buy it in addition to whatever they've already bought, sight unseen or unheard or whatever. And they're just gonna buy multiple things because it's a frenzy. Not only because it's a specific variant, but also because it's released for a very limited period of time while supplies last, and you're never told when or if it will be made available again, creating a false scarcity market.
This new album has around, I think, 28 physical variants alone, all using the limited stock only. This is peak overconsumption core. It's all the same songs y'all are gonna get digitally soon. And yes, bring back physical media, but why do you need 28 of the same album? And yes, there are people that are buying multiples of this. It really feels like y'all are under spells and she's exploiting your wallet. I'm an Ariana stan. I love that woman down. I stream every song, every album on repeat. And I know that she's released her variants. I'm personally not buying them. And don't get me wrong, Like, if this is some indie artist, like, I get it, supporting your local small artist, but can we be real? This is Taylor Swift, one of the, if not the biggest artists out right now. What are we doing with 28 versions? Like, this is biblical levels of greed. And we're not even going to talk about the waste that comes along with that. But what we are going to talk about is Taylor Swift herself, Miss America's propaganda darling. Many people have called her out for her lukewarm white feminist stances in the era of political correctness, namely her Miss Americana documentary, when she cried about caring so much about feminism, despite her family's beliefs, right? Now put that in contrast now that conservatism is in full swing, both politically and in the general zeitgeist, that she's made ties with the NFL, her circle is looking more homogenous than ever, and her lyrics are offering questionable at best and microaggressive at worst messaging. So see how there's a changing of behaviors and attitudes to meet the times? It seems that she just kind of goes wherever is most profitable at the time. Now, I know people have analyzed her lyrics to death, talking about how some of the lyrics can be seen as microaggressively racist, littered with pick-me-isms, misogyny, and generally kind of conservative, just generally keeping it interesting. But one thing that really stood out from all this is who it was coming from. She's one of the most lucrative stars, selling stadiums out. She has the life of a famous star, a life many people dream of. She's successful in her own right and has this whole empire around her, yet she's here saying that despite all of this glitz and glammy life, all she wants is to be by her man and to have his kids and to live the nuclear family in the suburbs with a basketball hoop in the backyard. And while people can aspire and wish for whatever they want, it is important to understand the times in which we are operating. It's just really interesting to hear this messaging come from someone who historically built her brand up by being this independent girl boss and is now telling her majority women fan base that, hey, even though I am like the peak independent woman and can do it all, what I really yearn for is the all-white American family dream. And if that doesn't sound like some propaganda given the times that we are currently in, I don't know what does. In an era where women's rights are being stripped, conservatives blaming women for the reason that the birth rate is so low, to the rise of things like trad wives and the ideology that like, I'm just a girl so I don't want to think or like do hard things, all of these things that seem to exist independently, all hodgepodge to a kind of problematic and regressive rhetoric if you think about it. And it's undeniable that Taylor Swift is a powerful political force. When she told people to register to vote, they took it serious. And while it's unclear to know exactly how many people were registered from her posting that, it is known that 400,000 people did click the link, which I think is important to note in the context of her impact, especially with younger demographics engaging in politics. She's positioned herself to be in a place of influence and has previously used that when it benefits her and her bottom dollar, getting her fans to support her whichever way the pendulum swings. And if the pervasive messaging right now is for motherhood, nuclear family, and nationalism, then that's where we're gonna go. All this is to say that no one is above or immune to propaganda. It is everywhere. And while some may be more sinister and insidious than others, it is still important to understand when you're being advertised to, how you're being advertised to, and why you specifically are being advertised this specific ad. Because at a time where overconsumption is at its heights, it's important to distinguish whether what you want is truly what you want or just what brands told you to.
Ladies and gentlemen, Ariara. Bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, Ariara.
Hey guys, what's up? It's imergency and welcome back to my channel. Today we are talking about Ariana Grande's new album. I have heard it. I hope you've heard it. I've been obsessed with it and it's been the only thing that I can really talk about, listen to, perceive. For the last, I want to say week, I filmed a reaction to my first listen of her new album, Eternal Sunshine, but I kind of botched the audio for most of it, so I was really only able to make some shorts out of it. Hold on! Ah! Trapiana is back! Sing! So if you want to see the botched version of my live reaction anyway, let me know and I can get that to you. So I decided instead I still wanted to talk about this album. I still wanted to talk about the themes of Ariana Grande because I feel like we've talked about her previously on this channel and I've been a fan of her music for a good minute now. So we're gonna go ahead and do the next best thing and rank the songs off of this album because I feel like while the album is a hit, possibly the album of the year, it's time to see whether or not the individual tracks themselves can stand on their own. Now, while I'm no stranger to a good tier list video, this is my first music focused tier list video. So if you end up liking this and want to see more of it, let me know down in the comments because I'd be happy to do this for other albums. There are a lot of albums coming out this year. There are a lot of albums coming out in like the next 6 weeks. So if you want to see me do more of that either on this channel or on a possible second reaction channel, let me know down in the comments below. That'd be really helpful. And also, if you're new around here, then definitely subscribe, leave a like on this video, and follow me on my socials at imergency on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. I've been doing a lot of cool things recently, all thanks to you guys, and I've been documenting it all on those other platforms, especially Instagram, so you should go check that out. And if you want to get early access to every single future video, as well as 2 additional show review videos every single month, then definitely become a channel member. Click the join button, do that, support the channel. It's greatly appreciated, but not necessary. But let's get into this tier list. So here on the lovely tier list, which I ended up taking from the tier list maker website, someone else made this, I did not. I added my own categories, but the person actually made all the visuals in here, shout out to them. But this tier list contains every single track off of Eternal Sunshine and Eternal Sunshine Slightly Deluxe, which is the slightly deluxe version that she released a little bit earlier this past week. And the tiers that we will put this song in start at the very bottom with Dookie. I had no other real words for what I put the bottom tier other than Dookie, and these songs are, as the name implies, Dookie. Like, I'm just generally not a fan of this song. It's not to my tastes, and it's Dookie in my opinion. Then the tier above that, we have the might need a few more spins tier, and this tier of songs aren't necessarily bad. They're more so growers. Like, maybe I just need to hear them a couple of more times to enjoy them more, and that's a very real thing. Like, there are a lot of songs that get put out that maybe just need a couple more spins for you to get them and to appreciate in their totality. And songs in this tier are those. Then a tier above that, we have the very solid track. This is just very baseline. I don't love it, I don't hate it. It's a very solid track. Like, I have no words. Like, it's not anything crazy, it's solid. Then the tier above that, we have the pop perfection tier. And this tier of songs are just so good. They're a cut above the rest. They are bops, and honestly some of Ariana's best work. Although this tier can only be bested by the tier above it, which is Song of the Mother Year. I'm trying to debate whether or not I should only put one song in this tier or I should put a couple. We'll figure that out. But this tier of songs are just the best of the album, and dare I say, the best thing that I've heard this year. Song of the year. And I fear that this is going to be a very difficult tier list for me. And I just want to preface this before we actually start ranking things, that this is my opinion as of right now. And it is very likely to change as I continue to listen to the album, because my top 3, the songs that I loved when I first heard this album, are not the same songs that I love now. Like, I feel like my list has changed and evolved over time, and I know that it's going to continue to do that as time goes on. So, enough exposition. Let's get into ranking this. Starting off with track 1, Intro, End of the World. When I first heard this song, I ascended. I'm not going to lie. I ascended. Intro, this is one of the first intro tracks that I really felt taken into the world of Eternal Sunshine, what Ariana was trying to give us. I've experienced an Ariana album release day twice now, first with Thank You Next, and then with Positions. And I have to say, listening to each of these intro tracks, I feel like I was the most immersed in an experience with this intro, rather than with Shut Up or Imagine. Both amazing songs, but I feel like just the way the instrumentation behind this song, the production of this song, and the way that Ariana approaches this song vocally just really does bring you into a world that I can't explain it. I was so happy when I first heard it. So Intro into the World. Okay, yeah, I remember. This goes into pop perfection. I'm sorry, I was gonna put it in very solid track, but I had to play it back because something in me was telling me, are you sure about that? Run again. And yeah, that's pop perfection. The production alone deserves Grammys. Like, that was quite good. That was very good. I'm sorry. That was great. Next is Bye. Now, Bye, let me tell you something about Bye, okay? And I'm not talking about racial, sexual, or onic. Like, this is B-Y-E. Bye. Goodbye. Whatever was put into this song. Actually, I know what was put into this song, now that I think about it. Whatever was put into this song, let me figure out how to say this without sounding insane. Whatever it is they put in this song had to be the same stuff that they had going around the streets in the 80s, because the way that I am addicted to this song, whenever I run through an album listen, Bye is one of the songs that I am most excited to hear, because from the production, to the vocals, to the lyrics, everything about Bye just gives. And when I first heard Bye, I was gagged because I was like, wait, hold on. Why is this song kind of got a bounce to it? Why is it doing something to me? And then it got kind of dancey, like disco pop. Bye, bye. Boy, Bye. Like, yeah, I'd argue Bye is one of the top contenders for Song of the Year. It is. It is. I'm sorry. Fight with yourself. I heard, you know what? I won't say whose laundry I'm airing out. So if he wants to come forward and tell his story down in the comments below, then go ahead. But I heard from a good friend of mine that he actually doesn't like Bye, and it isn't one of his top tracks. In fact, it's one of his least favorite. And to that man, I'm disgusted, because that's some questionable taste. I'll say that. Love you, Boots, but questionable taste. Next up, Don't Wanna Break Up Again. Now, I feel like this song is paid so much dust. Like, when people are talking about this album, Don't Wanna Break Up Again is often left out of the conversation as a really great song. And I honestly do think it's really amazing. Like, it is one of the more chiller songs on the album. I feel like it's definitely more of a vibe, and for that reason I am going to put it in very solid track. That's not to say that I don't like the song, because I really like the song. I just want to preface this before the stands come in and attack me. I do love this whole album, and I'm not sure if I made that clear enough. I don't know if I've said that enough in this video. I love this whole album. It's just that I think maybe yes. Next up is Saturn Returns Interlude. This interlude threw me for a loop when I first heard it, because I was expecting like one of Ariana's iconic interludes where she just sounds majestic, and it transitions very well into the next half of the album. It only does one of those things, because Ariana actually isn't on this track herself, besides maybe like a little giggle, but I actually really like this interlude. I'm not gonna lie, I do play it all the way through when I listen through the album. Like, I never skip the interlude, just because I feel like it's such a great story piece for a concept album, and it leads very well into the next track, which we are gonna be talking a lot about. So I don't want to say it's dookie, and I don't need more spins, because I feel like I get it. So I'll put it at the bottom, a very solid track, because I'm going to listen to it every time. Next up, Eternal Sunshine, the title track. I have a lot to say about this particular song, and some of y'all might not like me for it. Some of y'all might question my taste. Some of y'all might question my validity as a music consumer. But Eternal Sunshine is the best song that she's put out in years. It is the best title track song she has ever put out, because I don't know what it is, but I remember vividly my first listen of this song. I was gagged, because I was under the impression we were never going to hear Trapiana Grande fully give us that same vibe that she did on Dangerous Woman and Thank You Next. But I was wrong. I was so wrong. So gleefully wrong. But this song brings together those elements of Trapiana while also elevating it to a whole new level, because she's just more grown now. Her voice is better than ever. Like, from the production to the verses to the chorus, the story that she's telling. This is one of her saddest songs too, might I add. Like, she's literally talking about getting cheated on. Like, it is such a banger. It is such a banger. Like, I have no word. Actually, I have tons of words. Let me not lie to you. This is a hit. This is one of the first songs I learned the words to. Like, all the other ones, you know, like I'll mumble through until I get the vibe. Like, no, I opened up Genius. I looked at those lyrics and I studied those lyrics, because like, I am going bar for bar on this one first. This one is going to be mine. And that it is. That it is. So if that does not give you enough information for where this song is going, it is going at the top of Song of the Year, because, ooh, bye, move. Thank you. The top of Song of the Year, because Eternal Sunshine is such an amazing song. Such an amazing song, and you can't change my mind about that. Next up is Supernatural. This song, I will say, it had to grow on me. I didn't get it the first time. I can't claim that I got it the first time, but once I got it, I got it. Like, this song is so good. Supernatural is so good. The 3 to 4 song run of this portion of the album needs to be studied, because it's hit after hit after hit after hit. Truly. People were saying online that Supernatural is this album's Every Time off of Sweetener, and I could see it, just because the songs are kind of similar in the sense that, like, they're both about wanting a boy kind of down bad, a little too down bad, and then also end with some crazy notes at the end. Every Time is my favorite Ariana Grande song ever. I'll say that. She raised me. That one got me through many troubling time. So naturally, with a song like Supernatural, with those comparisons, I would feel a type of way, and I agree. I agree. I'd say that it's comparable, vibe-wise. So I'm putting Supernatural at the top of Pop Perfection. Well, yes. Yeah. Next up, True Story. True Story is such a great song. It's truly an amazing song. Here's the tea. I've heard the leaks. The song was leaked a while ago, and I heard it then. I liked it then, I love it now. It has this sort of retro old-timey flair that isn't like overdone. It doesn't feel gimmicky in the same way I feel like a lot of songs that try and go retro are. This just feels like Ariana in her bag. The vocals are amazing, the storytelling is amazing. She's talking about the media, she's talking about the people that are trying to paint her out to be this person that she's not. And I always love a little redemption song. I feel like she always hops on her recent albums where she's like, everyone shut up, y'all don't know me, I barely like y'all. Shout out to my fans, peace. Like last album was Shut Up. The album before that was Fake Smile, I believe. Like she does this. So with that, I want to say that True Story, pop perfection. Yeah. The Boy Is Mine. The Boy Is Mine is a favorite of the people. People have claimed The Boy Is Mine. I will say my first listen, I didn't like it. And I think it's because I had expectations for what I thought the song was going to be and it wasn't that, which is on me. But I feel like it's been growing on me more and more. However, I think I still need more time with it to contend with the songs that are in the higher categories. So I know you're gonna fight me. I know people are not gonna like me for this opinion because y'all love The Boy Is Mine, but it's a very solid track for me. It needs some time to become pop perfection. I do like Don't Want to Break Up Again more than I like The Boy Is Mine, so it's gonna go behind Don't Want to Break Up Again. Sorry, I might have just lost you there. I'm sorry, Buki, if I did, but it is what it is. Next up, Yes and. I will say, now that I've heard the whole album, I was gagged. I understand why Yes and was the lead single because it had to be the lead single based on controversy and things that were going on in order to introduce the era. But sonically, when I first listened to this album, I was like, what? Why is Yes and in there? I get it now. I understand it now. Like The Boy Is Mine is a good lead up into Yes and. But now Yes and, while an amazing song, is not anywhere near my favorites because all the other songs are just amazing. So while I've heard Yes and so many times before the album came out, I feel like I'm gonna need to listen to it a few more times. I'm gonna need to give it a few more spins in the context of the whole album before I can compete with any of the other ones that we got here. Next up, We Can't Be Friends, Wait for Your Love. This song is amazing. It had to grow on me too. I'm not gonna lie, it had to grow on me. When I first listened, I didn't get it. But after hearing it a couple of times in the context of the album, love this song. Every time I listen to the album, I love it more. And the music video helped even more because the music video is so emotional, and that one scene of Ariana almost crying almost broke me. Truly, this is such a good song. Production wise, so amazing. From the intro to the outro with the strings, her having her own mute challenge in the song, like there's so much here. Pop perfection. Not as much as Supernatural, but definitely more than True Story. Love. Next up, I Wish I Hated You. This song did things to me in my first listen. It really did. It really did. And I feel like it applies to a lot of people's situations. I feel like a lot of people can really resonate with this song. It's very emotional. It's this album's Ghostin' in the sense that it's one of the more raw and vulnerable songs, and also a song that Ariana has said that she likely won't ever perform, and that's the same way with Ghostin'. She's never performed Ghostin' live, and I also happen to really love Ghostin' off of Thank You Next. So this song really hits you in the heart. Like, you can hear her breaking down on the song, like in the last chorus, like she's holding it together. She's sniffling. It sounds like her voice broke because she was crying. This song hits hard. It's pop perfection. I like it more than We Can't Be Friends. I'm not sure if I like it more than Supernatural. At one point when I first listened to the album, I Wish I Hated You was in my top 3. Now it's probably 4 or 5 with the other songs, but I still really love this song. Next up, Imperfect for You. Imperfect for You, I feel like I have an inverse relationship with. I really liked it my first listen, and then each subsequent listen, I feel like this is where the album kind of tapers off for me, in my opinion. Not saying that I don't like it. I feel like it just slows down and it gets to a different place, but I kind of like the country-ana of it all, especially in the beginning. Although I will say I saw her perform this on SNL. In my humble opinion, I hope that this isn't the third single. I feel like Eternal Sunshine by Supernatural, The Boy Is Mine. She truly has all of those options for a very much hit single. Like, those songs are hits. And Perfect for You gives me more deep cut vibes. I hope that it doesn't become the next single, truly. But for what it is right now, I will put it in very solid track. And then the final track for the standard edition of the album, Ordinary Things, where she says ordinary things. This song features her Nona, which is really sweet, and I really do love the outro and the message, and how the album literally starts the question and Nona kind of gives the answer at the end. I will say that this one is not my favorite track on the album, and I feel like it needs a couple more spins for it to grow on me. I have some friends that really love this song, and of course, I'm not gonna say I'm gonna skip this song, because so far as I've listened to the album, I haven't skipped any songs through my listens. It's just like I'm tired at this point. Like, I recognize my energy being drained when I get to this song. I need some more time with it to have it grow on me. But for right now, yeah, it needs a few more spins. Now we're getting to the slightly deluxe version. And I feel like I'm gonna be more rapid fire with these because I feel like I have more of a visceral reaction to these. I'm glad that she put out a deluxe version. I think it was really fast. Like, it was giving Doja Cat Planet Her vibes. The fact that Doja released Planet Her like on a Thursday, Friday, and then the deluxe came, I think, before the weekend ended. Same thing happened here. Of course, this is slightly deluxe. We get the Yes and remix, which we got before, but the new tracks are Troye Sivan feature on Supernatural, an acoustic version for Imperfect for You, and acapella for True Story. So we get a little bit of new. I'm hoping that we do get a full deluxe. This is the same thing at a full deluxe, because I feel like that'd be fun, getting some extra tracks and some new features and remixes, because the 3435 remix was such a hit. I hope we get something like that again. But starting off with Supernatural with Troye Sivan, I actually heard this song for the first time today and I really liked it. I feel like I was contending for The Weeknd to be on this song because sonically it was more his vibe, but I feel like Troye killed it. Like, he really killed it. Like, he really added so much because he was pretty much all over this song. Like, his vocals weren't just on his verse, like he was literally all over the song. And I don't know if y'all know this, I'm a recent Troye Sivan stan after his latest album. His last album was really good. It was really good, and I don't feel like people talk about that enough. So yeah, this song I have to say was also pop perfection. Because I've only listened to it once, I think I need to give it some more time to grow to see if it really outshined the original Supernatural. So I'll put it in pop perfection right now because I really do like the song, but it has room to grow. Imperfect for You acoustic version. I'll say this, I like the acoustic version better than the original song. I know the hits aren't as hitty as in the original, but something about it itches my brain in the right way. And I like it more than the original, so it's gonna go slightly above the original Perfect for You in very solid track. I'm a fan. True Story acapella. I like the vocals, but I don't like it as much as the original True Story, simply because the production behind the original True Story and the instrumental of the original True Story is really like a whole half of the song that really does it for me. So I'm gonna put it at the end of very solid track. Like, really do love the song, but I don't like it more than the original. And finally, Yes and remix with Mariah Carey. And I mean this with no disrespect, zero disrespect, because I love Mariah. I love Mariah's music regularly. One of my best friends is a lamb down and has introduced me to so much Mariah music, and I love her music. This remix though was dookie. This is the only dookie song on the album, I'm sorry. When I first heard this song, when it first came out, I was like, the mixing was really weird, Mariah was really loud, and then Ariana talked about it on Zach Sang's podcast, where she's like, she just wanted Mariah to be as loud as possible because she was standing out over Mariah and she loves Mariah, and I'm like, love that for you, girl. But to me, these ears, I need some blend. I need some good blending. I can't get down with whatever that is. I have not listened to the remix since. The whistle harmonies in the beginning, loved. But everything after that, you can keep it. In my opinion, you can keep it. But this is my list, y'all. We only have one dookie track, which I'm omitting, and then most of them in pop perfection and very solid track. And then, of course, the two shining stars of Song of the Year, Eternal Sunshine and Bye. I'm really debating on putting Supernatural up there, actually. I'm really contemplating now. You know what I might do? This might be crazy. I'm gonna put Supernatural original version up there, and then I'm moving Supernatural version. Oh, Supernatural version with Troye Sivan is already there. So yeah. Pop perfection. Yeah, I fear that may be it. Yeah, that's it. That's the chart. That's the list, my friends. But yeah, I really enjoyed this album. I feel like I give this album a solid 9.5 out of 10. Like, I really did love this album. I am currently in love with this album and I can't wait to continue streaming it. And I want to hear your thoughts. What did you think about Eternal Sunshine by Ariana Grande? Did you like this album? Did you hate this album? What are your top 3 right now? And what do you want to see me talk about next? Do you want to see me dive into other albums? Do you want to see me dive into more of Ariana's discography? Let me know in the comment section below. Again, if you're new, then definitely subscribe. Leave a like on this video because it helps out a lot, and follow me on my socials at imuRgency on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. And consider becoming a channel member so that you don't miss out on any of the exclusive and early content that's out on there. But other than that, y'all, thank you so much for watching. I've been imuRgency, and I will see you in the next video. Peace. Video ended the radio star. Ariana ended the allegations with Eternal Sunshine, and Gen Z has ended the age of celebrity. Hey guys, so it's imuRgency and welcome back to my channel. Today we are back and we are talking about celebrity, and more specifically how Gen Z and the way that it consumes media has essentially changed the way that we view celebrity, to the point where celebrity doesn't really mean what it used to anymore. I think many of us can look back to when we were younger and how celebrity used to be regarded as like this unattainable status of super cool and elusive people that were just kind of put on this pedestal, where we really didn't have much access to them outside of the work that they gave us. And what we knew about these celebrities and public figures was very limited, very much giving like we knew what they wanted us to know for the most part. But as Gen Z has gotten older and wiser, and as social media has developed and the invention of influencers or content creators has continued and developed and pushed these people towards what would normally be seen as a sense of celebrity or fame, we've seen traditional celebrities come down from their distant and semi-untouchable status to take on some of the aspects of influencers. And we're gonna get more into what I mean by that later in this video. So in this video, I'm gonna be talking about celebrities and Gen Z's relationship with celebrity, as well as Gen Z's relationship with influencers, and how those three groups have interacted with each other over time to essentially shift the celebrity landscape to become this sort of authenticity and relatability culture for the sake of appealing to Gen Z audiences. And of course, we're gonna get into the pros and cons of that and how it could possibly be manipulative and oftentimes inauthentic, as well as getting into how this change in dynamic has created this sense of entitlement towards people that we know nothing about. So if any of that sounds of interest to you, sit back or grab a snack and keep on watching. And while you're at it, if you're new to the channel, then definitely subscribe, leave a like on this video, and follow me on my socials at imergency on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. And consider hitting the join button to become a channel member to get 2 exclusive show review videos a month, as well as early access to every video that comes out on this channel. But let's get into talking about Gen Z, celebrities, and influencers. So as I talked about in the beginning of this video, celebrity has been something that has evolved over time and has traditionally been the status symbol of the elite, the popular, the most talented, and as a result, some of the most wealthy people. Celebrities have traditionally sold us a fantasy of this larger than life lifestyle that by and large is not relatable to the general public and is in many ways said to be a goal for a lot of people. And I feel like it's been like this since like the Gilded Age of celebrity, like going back to old Hollywood, and remained the case for quite a long time up until I want to say the early 2010s when we first started seeing a shift with the rise of influencers. And this new era of influencer ushered in a new era of stardom. For what felt like the first time ever, it was possible for everyday people to become super successful both monetarily, socially, and career-wise. We'd see different personalities arise from social media that were able to come up because people valued their authenticity, their realness, and the seemingly novel sense of parasocial relationship between the creator and their audience. That was so different from the traditional realm of celebrity, because I feel like, yes, people are diehard stans of celebrities, that is no question. But when it came to early era influencers, I feel like the parasocial bond between the two felt so much closer because you felt like you knew the person. People would constantly enjoy content from their faves who were directly talking to camera about any and everything and allowing people to peer into their everyday lives almost daily, to the point where it felt like these people weren't just influencers, weren't just creators, but were actually friends, like a long distance friend, because that's how it was built to be. And it feels a lot better and it's a lot easier to want to support and root for someone you see as a friend rather than someone that you see as an idol or someone that you put on a pedestal, which led to the exponential success of these creators to the point that they're able to make so much money and be able to get access to these exclusive highbrow events, working with reputable brands, collabing with and interacting in social circles that would normally be reserved for celebrity, as creators who just started off being everyday people who just happened to like recording themselves. So thus ushered in a new era where we'd see these internet personalities have these cult fan bases akin to that of a traditional celebrity, while also being in and around these same spaces that had been previously only occupied by celebrities. And with this success and seeing this formula and seeing how these parasocial relationships would play out over time, when it comes to Gen Z, I feel like our relationship with influencers has evolved and changed over time. Because while yes, in the early to late 2010s, there was this general obsession and idolization of these influencers, creators, and public figures, as time has moved on, that sort of blind parasocial support and relationship has sort of lessened over time. And I feel like that's really in part due to the shift in power dynamics between influencer and audience. As being an influencer, being a creator has become a really saturated career choice. I feel like we have more influencers or content creators nowadays than we have ever before. So influencers have become more abundant and the shelf life of these said influencers have gone down drastically. Like if you think back to the OGs or like the influencers that had made it a while ago, a lot of them are still in the game. And for the most part, you're able to name the prominent ones of that era because there weren't that many popular creators. Nowadays, there's such an abundance of creators that are prominent and popular, but I'd argue they may not be as impactful as their predecessors. Because I feel like it's very common to come across a profile online that could have like millions of followers, millions of subscribers or whatever, and you just haven't heard of them, which 5-10 years ago would not be the case. Like, because there are fewer creators at the time, if a creator was over 1 million subscribers, you were familiar with their content. You may not like their content, but 9 times out of 10, you've seen a video or you've seen someone talk about one of their videos. But now that that's so common, that's just not the case anymore. And I feel like growing up, Gen Z really used to idolize influencers, and we're much more easily swayed by things that influencers had to say. Not to say that that's not the case anymore and that we're just completely sentient beings that can't be swayed by marketing of any kind. No, but I'd say that it's definitely less common. Like, if you think back to the older days of influencing, influencers would have these mass book signings, mass events, concerts even, that would be extremely well attended just because the influencer said to show up. Now, unless you're super culturally relevant, that's just less common, because I feel like a lot of times as a fan and as an audience of a creator, there's like less diehard allegiance to show up in that way. And I feel like a contributing factor of that may be that we're just older now, so there's less appeal to that. And we also look at influencers now with a little bit more nuance and critical thought and more realistically. Like, I feel like we're a lot more comfortable now holding our faves or holding other influencers accountable for their actions. I argue that sometimes that may even be a little bit overtuned, where it feels like sometimes we go out looking for a problem with a creator's take or opinion, but we definitely look at the media that we consume and the people that we see that media be consumed from more critically. And a lot of that is due to the fact that we want to make sure that the people that are in these spaces and have this platform are able to practice what they preach, which we will come back to talk about later. But regardless of time and regardless of how the culture has shifted around influencers specifically, one thing that has stayed the same, one thing that has remained tried and true as a factor that is essential to any creator, any influencer's growth or ability to cultivate and maintain an audience, is the need for authentic storytelling and connection. And this is a good transition to what I'm talking about when it comes to the convergence from celebrities into influencers. And that might be a crazy thing to say, but let me explain. I think I alluded to this earlier, but I feel like I've been seeing a shift in celebrity culture to become not necessarily one-to-one influencers, but definitely adapting a lot of the practices and strategies of influencers. And I feel like the reason behind that is, one, because for a lot of celebrities, the art that they are famous for doing is not solely as profitable anymore. Like, for celebrity music artists, music itself has become less and less profitable with the rise of streaming. For actors, acting gigs have become less consistent, and the pay for it for most actors that aren't like superstars doesn't always pay the bills alone, which we've talked about in previous videos. So if you want to see a full video talking about why acting doesn't necessarily pay the bills anymore, you can click the card above to go check that out. So as a result of the traditional forms of art not being as profitable, we've been seeing a lot of celebs create their own brands, businesses, or take on these brand deals, sponsorships, or partnerships to help supplement the funds. And while a good celebrity partnership or ambassadorship has always been a thing when it comes to the life and business behind being a celebrity, I want to say starting in like 2016, we started seeing celebrity partnerships and brands doing similar deals to those that influencers would do. Like, my mind immediately races to, I don't know if it was 2016 or 2018, but whenever Sugar Bear hair was popping, you'd see all these influencers and celebrities promoting the same product, doing the same deal. And of course, the pay might be a little different, but putting influencers and celebrities on the same deal, it kind of brings them to a similar level. And yes, I know that's not a one-to-one, but you get what I'm trying to say. And in more recent times, we've seen celebrities that have traditionally been super inaccessible become more accessible with the social media boom. We've been seeing more and more celebrities hop on social media, whether that be to promote their projects, brands, or to just reconnect with their audience. We've seen more of an occupation of celebrities in traditionally influencer-led spaces, and vice versa. And I want to say the second overarching reason why this is the case is because Gen Z has been redefining its relationship with the concept of celebrity. I feel like a large portion of this sentiment really kicked off after 2020 when we were all under lockdown, but Gen Z by and large is no longer wanting this larger than life, super luxe, super unattainable, super unaccessible lifestyle. Like, that's no longer the aspiration. Like, people are tired of seeing that, especially in the first couple of years of the 2020s, because life has been so hard for the average person and people are busting their ass to try and stay afloat while they care about or want to see a celebrity posting about their third vacation or just chilling in their mansion. That creates a distance and turns a lot of Gen Z off because it's no longer relatable. And like I said in the influencer section of this video, a lot of the content that Gen Z supports is relatable, authentic content. So because of this, I feel like we've kind of forced these celebrities to become more accessible for the sake of being able to access us. And I feel like that framing just would never have been the case 20, 30, 40 years ago, because I feel like that whole parasocial relationship was completely flipped. Really successful celebrities and their teams weren't as at the mercy of their audience because they knew that their audience would support regardless because they were a celebrity. But nowadays that support is not guaranteed. In fact, a lot of times it's fought for because there's so much competing with our attention and our interests. And I feel like celebrities that have gotten this right and were able to really capitalize on Gen Z's need for relatability, authenticness, and unseriousness were able to really boost their careers off of that. Were people like Doja Cat, who really leveraged a lot of her music on platforms like TikTok to really propel her career into the next level. Lil Nas X, of course, someone whose career was really founded off of the internet. Lizzo, who had a whole career resurgence online after putting out a song that had been years old. And then after the success of that song, continuing to be really authentic and relatable on the internet to really strengthen her fan base. And more recently, artists like Renee Rapp and Ice Spice. And because of the way that these artists are able to use the internet and use what they know that Gen Z loves to see from a celebrity, being really authentic, being what seems to be down to earth and relatable, they were able to see heightened success and loyalty coming from their younger Gen Z audiences. And getting this access to Gen Z and the support from Gen Z has been shown to be important to even the celebrity of these celebrities. Like the most recent example that really got me thinking about this in my mind was Beyonce. If you didn't know, Beyonce has just recently released a hair care line called Sacred. And Beyonce has notoriously been super behind the scenes, super distant from the general public. Like you don't see Beyonce just going out very often anymore. And you especially don't see her doing promo. Like that is one thing about her. She will let the work speak for itself. Like if you think about her past couple of projects, like Renaissance, there were no music videos for Renaissance. There was barely any promo for Renaissance. And it still became this giant cultural moment. But when it comes to her other brands, the things that could also make a lot of money, as of very recently, we've seen Beyonce actually go out and do some promotion. Like for her fragrance line, she actually made a video promoting her fragrance. And while that may be a little thing, the internet ate it up because Beyonce doesn't normally do that. Beyonce doesn't normally connect with her audience, and that's a big critique that people have of Beyonce's brand, is that a lot of people, especially younger people, find it hard to support Beyonce's brand because they don't really know anything about her, and a lot of people don't believe that she actually would use the products that she's selling. And I feel like that perspective has shifted even more with her hair care line, because for the first time I feel like ever, Beyonce actually stepped out and did a promo event inviting influencers and met up and basically had a PR meet and greet with influencers to promote her hair care line. And Beyonce would never normally do that. So by leveraging influencers, people that she knows have an authentic and strong parasocial connection with their audience, she's one, putting them in the same spaces as her, but also showing the impact and importance of appealing to what she knows we will respond well to and would actually influence us to partake in. And while that's all fine and dandy, I kind of want to now talk about how our need for authenticity, in a sense, and entitlement to certain information from our faves has also impacted the state of celebrity. Like I feel like Gen Z has gotten so used to seeing public figures like influencers be super vulnerable and transparent with their lives online, and have sort of created that as an expectation for people that are held in that similar space. And now I feel like celebrities are also being held to a similar standard, because as we're distancing ourselves from the elusiveness of celebrity, we're also expecting that sort of transparency, since they've been accessing us in similar ways that influencers do. And while this isn't inherently a good or a bad thing, this expectation for vulnerability and authenticity often comes with a level of scrutiny to these celebrities' personal lives, especially their relationships and day-to-day activities, which didn't used to be as widely a case for celebrities back in the day. From what I've been told and what I've heard, a lot of celebs back in the day had their private lives kind of on lock, and the only way that they had their private lives brought to the public is if they wanted certain aspects of their private lives brought to the public, or if paparazzi and blogs would bring it up to the public. And even in those cases, a lot of times celebrities and their teams would be able to pay off those paparazzi and people from getting those stories out. So there was still a form of control in that sense. Whereas nowadays, there's less so of that control, and we're sort of entering a stage where instead of them controlling how much we know about them, we are more so in the driver's seat of that, in controlling and demanding what we want to know about these people. There's less overall privacy towards these people's personal lives, because we've been starting to view them in a light that's more akin to an influencer. And as we know, our relationship with influencers, we kind of expect that information from them, and we hold them to certain standards because we feel like we know them. And as an everyday person, I feel like celebrities are just more so accessible than ever before. Because for one, there's a monetary and social incentive for them to become more accessible and more relatable, but also celebrities have become more okay with just being online. Like whether that be your fave reposting a TikTok that you've made on their story for a promo rollout, them commenting on a random video or tweet, or them acknowledging you on the abundance of live streams that they've been doing nowadays, or just other general social media interactions. Now more than ever, it's a lot more possible and realistic to have your opinion, thoughts, or presence known and acknowledged by these celebrities. And a lot of that is due to algorithms. Like if you've made a TikTok before, because it's so discoverable and available to any and everybody, there is a chance that someone you may look up to, someone you may idolize, has seen your face before, which is crazy to think about and further strays to the traditional sentiment of celebrity. And now to wrap off, I kind of want to go through some pros and cons for all this, because I feel like there is some good and some bad that comes from celebrities being this accessible and all of that. For one, I feel like it's great because one of the main pros why I think it's great is because I feel like it creates this sense of interconnectedness and really humanizes these people that are traditionally meant to seem larger than life and super different from the everyday person. And while yes, there are aspects of these people's lives that are very different from everyday people, seeing them also deal with everyday issues can really have a positive effect on the people that they influence. Like somebody's coming online and being more open and vulnerable about their life mistakes or shortcomings or things that they're going through can really help regular people, especially younger people, deal with and be more accepting of their own things that they have going on. Like especially, and I don't know if this sounds like dark or whatever, I'll say it anyway, but like when celebrities are going through like health conditions and talk about it online, I feel like it's really great because it normalizes that condition. Like I remember recently hearing that like Kim K came online to talk about her psoriasis, which is really common for people, but seeing that like someone as wealthy, privileged, successful as Kim K, who you'd think would have all the resources available to her to like cure and stop this, still going through something that like the everyday person does. Like of course I'm going to acknowledge and not be delusional that I'm sure that she has everything that she needs to deal with that in the best way possible, but still seeing someone that you would believe would have like everything still go through like some sort of human hardship can be nice. And I feel like for other people that have psoriasis, that may be a comforting and normalizing thought to help them manage with their own psoriasis. But I feel like where this goes too far in a con of this is that sometimes we just know too much about these people's lives that we don't necessarily need to. Like whether this be like the stuff that they be getting into, the drama that they be getting into, or we just know too much and we give opinions on things we don't need to know, or when these celebrities just volunteer too much information, like we don't need to know that about you, truly, like have some couth. Like y'all remember Don't Showergate? Like when all those celebrities were coming online to talk about how they only bathe like once a month and don't believe in bathing their kids or bathing themselves or washing their feet or whatever. Like we don't need to be that comfortable. We don't need to know that about you. Maybe pick up a loofah, pick up a rag, and hop in the shower and get a good lather going on. Because like if you're gonna be volunteering that information, you have to be prepared for some very critical advice, because what do you mean you only shower once a week? Dirty. But yeah, I'd say to summarize, due to the way that Gen Z consumes content and the way that we've been brought up around our age of public figures and what we'd consider celebrities, traditional celebrity and the age and art of celebrity has been altered to really cater to us. And in a lot of ways, I feel like we've ended that traditional sense of celebrity because it really doesn't serve or relate to us. And I think it's kind of iconic that we did that. But still, of course, give people their privacy, regardless of who they are. Everyone deserves privacy, as long as they're not like unaliving people or doing something super treacherous. But yeah, that's my take. Now I want to hear from you. What do you think about all this? Do you feel like Gen Z has altered the way that celebrity is presented in mainstream media? Or do you think I'm just yapping? Either way, I'm cool. Let me know down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. If you're new to the channel, definitely subscribe. Follow me on my socials at imergency and leave a like on this video. Other than that, y'all, I've been Emergency and I will see you in the next video. Peace.